Good day everyone, this is Nars Romero. If this is your first time visiting my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. For today's video, I'll be touring you around the City Botanic Gardens here in Brisbane, Australia. The City Botanic Gardens, formerly the Brisbane Botanic Gardens, is a heritage-listed botanic garden on Alice Street, Brisbane City, Queensland, Australia. It was also known as Queen's Park. It is located on Gardens Point in the Brisbane Central Business District and is bordered by the Brisbane River, Alice Street, George Street, Parliament House, and Queensland University of Technology's Garden Point campus. It was established in 1825 as a farm for the Moreton Bay Penal Settlement. The gardens include Brisbane's most mature gardens with many rare and unusual botanic species. In particular, the gardens feature a special collection of cycads, palms, figs, and bamboo. The City Botanic Gardens was added to the Queensland Heritage Register on 3rd of February 1997. The Queensland Heritage Register describes the gardens as the most significant non-Aboriginal cultural landscape in Queensland, having a continuous horticultural history since 1828 without any significant loss of land area or change in use over that time. It remains the premier public park and recreational facility for the capital of Queensland, which role it has performed since the early 1840s. The Brisbane Botanic Gardens, occupying 20 hectares or 49 acres, is bounded by George and Alice Streets and the Brisbane River. They comprise three major sections: the former Queen's Park along Alice Street, the Botanic Gardens proper, adjacent to the river, and a former government domain at the rear of the Queensland University of Technology, formerly part of the grounds to Old Government House. Set in undulating grounds, the gardens are bordered by mature shade trees, which also create avenues and groves. A lake and formal lawns, gardens, and structures provide a diversity of passive recreational activities. A series of interconnecting paths link in a riverside concourse with other perimeter paths. The gardens contain an avenue of bunya pines planted in the 1850s and an avenue of whipping figs planted in the 1870s. It also contains a number of other rare plants, particularly palms and figs, some in formal planting arrangements within the lawns, others within mass-planted gardens, and an avenue of coke pines. A low stone wall in 1860s, surmounted by an iron railing fence, runs the length of Alice Street and extends into George Street. Large iron gates provide entry at George, Albert, and Edward Streets. A cottage care of 1900s with arts and crafts decorative elements is located at the southern end of the gardens on a hill known as Residence Hill. This building is surrounded by trees and shrubs, some of which are survivors of late 1850s and early 1860s plantings. The City Gardens Cafe operated from the house for many years. In 2016, it is operated as the Garden Club. In a hollow to the north of Residence Hill is the Walter Hill Fountain. It stands on a stepped octagonal base of 3 tiers. The body of the fountain continues disc-shaped but tapers towards its top. The lion-shaped drinking fountains presently not functioning, and basins are of white marble in contrast with the freestone of the rest of the structure. To the south of Residence Hill is a 1980s grassed amphitheater known as River Stage, facing a stage beside the river. Other structures for public convenience and recreational use are dispersed throughout the gardens. The gardens are accessible by Alice Street, the Goodwill Bridge, and Brisbane City Council's ferries and City Cats at the Gardens Point and Eagle Street wharves. The gardens are open 24 hours, with pathways lit at night. Some features of the gardens include Garden Cycle Hire Station at Albert Street entrance, Morning Star II by John Barlow Hudson from World Expo 1988, and Plant Form by Rupert Junipa. Brisbane Botanic Gardens was listed on the Queensland Heritage Register on 3rd of February 1997, having satisfied the following criteria. First, the place is important in demonstrating the evolution or pattern of Queensland's history. The Brisbane Botanic Gardens are historically important as the most significant non-Aboriginal cultural landscape in Queensland, having a continuous horticultural history since 1828 without any significant loss of land area or change in use over that time. It remains the premier public park and recreational facility for the capital of Queensland, which role it has performed since the early 1840s. Second, the place demonstrates rare, uncommon, or endangered aspects of Queensland's cultural heritage. Plant collections date to the 1850s. Many have been planted by Walter Hill, the first director of the Botanic Gardens. Many of the specimens are either rare, in cultivation, or of great maturity, or both. Many important plant introductions to Queensland, of both an agricultural and ornamental nature, can be traced directly to the Brisbane Botanic Gardens and the work of its early curators. Third, the place is important in demonstrating the principal characteristics of a particular class of cultural places. These gardens are important in demonstrating the principal characteristics of an evolving public and botanical garden dating from the mid-19th century, containing the most extensive mature gardens in Queensland. There are a number of historic structures in the gardens, including the Walter Hill Drinking Fountain of 1867, the former band pavilion of 1878, the boundary stone walls, gates, and cast iron railings from 1865 to 1885, the former bear pit shelter, 1905, the former curator's residence, 1909, now the kiosk, the river wall from Edward Street to the Domain, 1918, the southern stone staircase on the riverbank from 1918 to 1919, and the middle and northern stone staircases, both 1923 to 1924. The place also contains a number of historically significant early engineering projects, including the stormwater drainage system 1865 onwards, reticulated water supply from Enoggera Dam 1867, and underground electricity supply for lighting purposes 1907. Fourth, the place is important because of its aesthetic significance. The Brisbane Botanic Gardens are significant as a Brisbane landmark and for their visual amenity and natural wildlife values as the major verdant landscape area in the city's central business district. Fifth, the place has a strong or special association with a particular community or cultural group for social, cultural, or spiritual reasons. Many important social events have taken place within the gardens, and the place is generally held in high regard by the local community and is a popular destination for visitors to Brisbane. Finally, the place has a special association with the life or work of a particular person, group, or organization of importance in Queensland's history. The place has a special association with the pioneering work of curators Walter Hill from 1855 to 1881, Philip John McMahon from 1889 to 1905, John Frederick Bailey from 1905 to 1917, and Ernest Walter Bick from 1917 to 1939. This has been Ars Romero. Thank you for watching.